Okay. I'm just gonna like check Facebook as well. So okay, we're live. Yeah.
Excellent.
So should we like wait a few minutes? So like let get some audience build up. Like start in 2 minutes, something.
Sure.
Cool. Hey, hey, hey. So good evening, everyone. Um, this is Eric from GDG Karachi, and with another session of Gupshup or Chai Hour with Pakistani Googlers. And with us today we have Shahyan. Shahyan Ahmad. Shahyan is part of the Google team, and there's बहुत कुछ है Shahyan के बारे में कहने को, so I like let Shahyan tell everything himself, and then I'll also share how I know Shahyan. So yeah, Shahyan, over to you.
Hmm. Acha. So first things first, बहुत कुछ है कहने को is code for मैंने शयान का बायो तैयार नहीं किया, तो शयान अपना बायो करेंगे, which is
Yeah.
fine. Might as well hear it straight from the person. So, as Eric said, I'm Shayan, Pakistani. Grew up in Karachi. A levels किए थे from Beacon House. And then I came to the US in 2001, mechanical engineering degree की, फिर उसके बाद MBA किया. For 4 years, I worked in Sears Holdings, which is a retail company. And then since June 2012, actually, आज मेरी 9-year anniversary at Google. June 4th,
Wow.
2012 is when I joined.
Congrats.
So I've been 9 years at Google today. Most of those in finance operations, and most recently now in trust and safety for 2 years.
That's really cool. So शान हमारा जो सेशन है उसका नाम है चाय आवर विद पाकिस्तानी गूगलर्स. सो पाकिस्तान में तो अभी 9 बज रहे हैं, तो ये अभी डिनर के बाद तो चाय शाम की गुजर गई है, तो मैंने बोला क्या मैं जो है थीम से रेलेवेंट लेके आऊं, तो मैं जो है साथ पाकुला लेके आऊं,
Oh,
लाइक
very nice.
पाकिस्तान कुछ रिप्रेजेंट करने के लिए. तो लेट्स आप बताएं, आप आपने कुछ लेके आए साथ कोई ड्रिंक वगैरह चिल करने के लिए?
नहीं, ये शर्मिंदगी की बात है, मेरे पास सिर्फ पानी है.
पानी भी काफी है.
क्योंकि मैं ना चाय पीता हूँ ना कॉफी पीता हूँ.
ओके ओके, चलो
However,
पानी.
however, I do have a T-shirt जिस पे ये देखें.
give I think samosas are necessary for sure. I love it. So
ये T-shirt मैंने Dolman Mall से ली थी several years ago. I forget the name of the shop, but anyway.
uh, but so I know Shayan personally as well, through a very good friend. So and मैं पहली दफा शायान से खुद यूएस में ही मिला, like 2019, yeah, and then like pandemic 2020, उसके बाद तो चक्कर ही नहीं लगा, but
I
like
think it
yeah.
was 18. No. IO in 2019 was April, huh? So
Yeah,
2
yeah,
साल हो
yeah,
गए.
yeah. Yeah. So there, and China, I had Chipotle. So it was a good session. And this is like catch up for me and Shayan as well. So, but I'll get to learn more about Shayan since then. So Shayan, so I mean, you've been working with Google for 9 years now. So tell us a bit more, like what do you do over there, like in more detail now, and how's like you know you mentioned finance and then like security stuff, so like uh, how like for people who are the end users, how do they know like what parts of Google you work on that we may be able to relate to?
Hmm. Okay, so I'll start with my most recent work, which is probably most pertinent to users, which is trust and safety.
Yeah.
Trust and safety overall is a new field. Um, Bought Pele at Google, it was called product quality operations. Now it's rebranded to trust and safety because trust and safety has become the industry term.
Okay.
And trust and safety is basically just dealing with the user and and customer safety when they interact with your products online.
Okay.
So what I do specifically is I work in ads, so Google search ads jo hote hain, and then we also have display ads, which are ads that might show up on news articles or websites not related to the searches you do. So the team I'm on is responsible for ensuring that the ads that we allow to run through our systems are compliant with our policies. And
Nice.
generally, we try to make it so that our policies are ensuring user safety above everything else. So
Okay.
जैसे guns के ads हों या gambling ads or ads for alcohol in certain countries, we try to put in place the processes and systems to prevent those ads from running.
Right.
And on the flip side, जो good advertisers होते हैं or the good ads, we try to reduce friction for them to run as well.
Got it. So like जैसे you know, a lot of times people say कि जी मेरा ad जो है Google ने reject कर दिया. So it's like the work you do basically is the
हाँ,
one that drives all of that, those
हाँ,
approved.
मैंने reject किया था.
बस फिर मैं शयान का ईमेल भी शेयर कर देता हूँ ताकि just नहीं Baki, and for the audience who's watching from home, so like, please write any questions you may have for Shayan. We'd be happy to like. I think Shayan is more interested in answering those questions. So please, आप लोग जरूर पूछें ताकि you know he can answer those. So that's very interesting. And what about like before that? I remember you used to work on a lot of like big cloud finance stuff, like on the
हाँ.
invoicing. Am I missing something? Yeah.
It was so. I think हमें पहले कह देना चाहिए था कि this is I am a non-tech person. तो जो
Yeah.
लोग Google software engineer की बातें सुनने आए थे, they are going to be very disappointed because I am a non-tech person in a tech company. Like, and you know, maybe you know, not everyone is going to be a software engineer, so maybe there are
Yeah.
some people who are interested. तो पहले मैं क्या करता था, it's called finance operations. So all the transactional finance activities जो company में होती हैं, जिसके बारे में शायद लोग सोचते नहीं हैं unless you're actually running a company, like how to bring cash in, how to pay cash out. मैं उस team में था, and I was involved in the processes of bringing cash in. So very, very simply, एक product अगर हो, and you are getting revenue from that product, you need a vehicle by which to get the actual cash into your bank account for the service you have provided. So सबसे पहले invoicing आती है. You have to send the invoice, right?
Yeah.
Actually, invoice से पहले credit आता है, credit check. You have to do credit checks of any customer that wants to receive an invoice. Then you send an invoice, and then ideally they pay the invoice. But if they don't pay the invoice, then they go into collections, where someone calls them and says, you know, पैसे दे दे. When they finally pay, you have to apply the cash that they pay to their open invoice so that the invoice gets closed, so that you can then start the cycle again the next month.
So
So you just
बात
सारी चीजें थी, credit, invoicing, collections, cash application. These are all individual standalone processes within finance operations. तो ये मैंने किया था. I did mainly invoicing and collections. और जो cloud आपको याद आ रहा है is because I did invoicing for Google Cloud.
so कहने का मतलब ये है कि कंपनी कितनी भी छोटी हो या बड़ी, मुंशी जो है लाजमी होता है. तो लाइक जो है गूगल में भी बहुत सारे मुंशी हैं. एंड इसका मतलब ये
पैसों की
uh,
जरूरत होती है ना.
पैसे की जरूरत डेफिनेटली. So that's really exciting. तो इसका मतलब ये है कि यहाँ पर भी जो भी किसी की भी ओवर इनवॉइसिंग हुई भी है वो मतलब आपको राब्ता कर सकता है.
नहीं, अब नहीं, 2 साल पहले.
नाइस नाइस. सो बट दिस इज
वो मैं आपको बता सकता हूँ एक वाकया. जब मैं कर रहा था, एक किस्म की बिलिंग हो रही थी, और हमारे पाकिस्तानी कस्टमर्स थे, बिजनेस, बड़े बड़े बिजनेसेस थे, कस्टमर्स थे,
ओके
और उनके आते थे बिल्स ग्रेटर देन $100,000 a year.
ओके
और उनकी रिक्वेस्ट आई, भाई ये बिल आप ऐसे करें कि इसको कम कर दें, क्योंकि $1 लाख से ज्यादा बिल जब आता है तो हमें एनओसी लेना पड़ता है रिमिटेंस करने के लिए. तो तो हमें भी मसला हो रहा था, बिकॉज एनओसी में महीने लग जाते थे, लाइक नो ऑब्जेक्शन सर्टिफिकेट. तो हमारा भी कैश फ्लो अफेक्ट हो रहा था. तो लेकिन हमें ये भी मसला हो रहा था कि कंप्लायंस का इशू है कि वी आर फेकिंग द अमाउंट ऑन द बिल.
Yeah.
तो अब मुझे याद नहीं है कि हमने क्या किया इन द एंड, बट इट वाज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. इन द एंड वो डिसीजन कहीं और चला गया था.
That's a
But you know,
very
you interesting nuggets of like Pakistani regulatory requirements. हर जगह आ जाते हैं कहीं ना कहीं. Finance में भी आते हैं, trust and safety में भी आते हैं. It's nice.
yeah. So Shayan, like this is very interesting because like whenever people think of Googlers, they think of tech people doing tech stuff. I mean, obviously you're non-technical. So how does like one build a career at? How does a non-technical person like build a career and then succeed with it? Because definitely you have been doing it for 9 years.
Hmm.
So काफी लंबा time. So please, any insights?
Um, matlab, me, in my particular case, I just got lucky.
Okay.
वो मैंने अपना LinkedIn प्रोफाइल अपडेट किया हुआ था एंड वो किसी रिक्रूटर का मैच हो गया एंड देन आई गॉट एन इंटरव्यू एंड देन वन थिंग लेड टू अनदर. लाइक मैं आई हैड नेवर प्लान्ड टू वर्क फॉर गूगल.
Okay.
At that time, क्योंकि Sears is a retail company, I was looking for better retail jobs. So मैं तो गलती से यहाँ पहुंचा हूँ, but now that I'm here, I have some insights.
Okay.
तो पहली बात ये है कि I think never assume that an industry is not a fit for you, because as you just said, ना मुंशी भी होता है गूगल में, ops log होते हैं, program managers होते हैं. We have a massive sales team, right? Tens of thousands of people. So yes, Google is an engineering company, and other companies, Facebook, Amazon, very tech heavy. But you need all kinds of professions to make a company successful. So the first thing is to not assume that your skills are not needed at a company you are interested in. दूसरी बात ये है कि it's really useful to build transferable skills.
Okay.
अभी भी मतलब मैं 40 साल का हो गया हूँ, but even now when I look for new opportunities
Yeah,
and new
yes,
jobs,
Shayan, बिल्कुल भी.
Uncle Shahyan, when I'm looking for new skills or new opportunities, मैं हमेशा देखता हूँ कि मैं क्या सीखूंगा जो मैं उससे आगे लेके जाऊँ.
Okay, nice. That's a very
Uh,
interesting perspective.
I actually, the least rewarding job I had, I will tell you the least rewarding job, Google में था. मैंने 1 साल के लिए किया और वो था data centers पे काम करना, or putting servers into data centers.
Okay.
Now, the reason this was least rewarding for me is because I was learning very specific things specifically about how just Google data centers work.
Okay.
अब अगर मैं वो जॉब छोड़ के जाऊं, उसका क्या फायदा? I can only do Google data center jobs after that then, if I want to use the skills I'm getting.
Yeah.
So इसलिए वो मेरा दिल भी नहीं लगा, so I went back to finance operations. I enjoyed operations jobs because you learn a lot of interesting frameworks. कि क्या inputs हैं, क्या outputs हैं, उनको कैसे process करते हैं. Like, basic principles, speed, quality, cost, like those are the 3 things you want to optimize for. तो उसमें मुझे बहुत मजा आया because I found those principles I could take and apply to any problem anywhere.
Right.
And even when you hire someone, right? Generally, जो मैंने देखा tech companies में क्या होता है, you aren't always looking for specific domain skills. You're actually looking for broad-based problem-solving ability. तो इसका मतलब आप जितने broad जा सकते हैं, especially earlier in your career, right? The more different things you can do early in your career, the more transferable skills you can build up, the better it is for you. And मैंने ये भी देखा है Google में कि people want someone to solve problems for them. They don't want, oh, हमें customer service operations का बंदा चाहिए जिसने 20 साल से ये किया हुआ हो. They just want problem solvers. And if you can make your prior experience relevant to what they're looking for, then you give yourself a higher chance of getting the job.
So when you say like skills ऐसे हमें हासिल करने चाहिए जो हम दूसरी jobs पे भी लेके जा सकें या दूसरे roles में लेके जा सकें, like there are many kinds of skills, right? So what would be like, top three skills that you feel somebody young, because we always have, a lot of students as our audience. So what would you recommend people to try to learn, that they can take to other jobs as well or roles?
Um, I would say a basic understanding of how data works at the very
Okay.
least. Now, idhar to kafi log aaye honge who are full on coders, so they don't have that issue. But if you are not, knowing basic SQL is very, very important, because especially if you go into an entry level role or as a junior person, the ability for you to extract your own data and perform an analysis and then make a business recommendation based on that analysis is very, very critical. तो मतलब मैं कहूँगा आजकल बेसिक सीक्वल के बगैर गुजारा हो ही नहीं सकता. Until you get
ठीक है.
to some kind of people management role, then you will hire people to do that for you. But while you are an individual contributor, having a data foundation in data is very important. The other skill I will say is important is storytelling. And this is an odd one because
Right.
it's not actually a core like domain expertise type skill. लेकिन मैं गूगल में भी लोगों को बताता हूँ जो नए गूगलर्स आते हैं, मैं कहता हूँ यू हैव टू डू योर ओन PR because no one else will do it for you, और फिर किसी को नहीं पता चलेगा आपने क्या किया है. लाख लोगों की कंपनी है, लाख plus, so you have to look out for yourself to an extent. The ability to communicate the value of what you are doing is very, very important. कि मैंने ये क्यों किया, क्या net impact हुआ. Slight tangent but related. मैं देखता हूँ लोगों की resumes, मैं काफी देखता हूँ, like people share their resumes with me and they say क्या ख्याल है आपका, or what do you think. सबसे बड़ी गलती जो लोग अपने resume में करते हैं, particularly looking for tech jobs for US based companies, is the resume becomes a collection of job descriptions instead of a collection of highlights.
ठीक है.
So you don't want to say what your role was, you want to say what you did. कि मैंने ये किया, इतने पैसे बचे, या मैंने इतने 100 लोगों को ट्रेन कर किया, like provide the impact you had. किया क्या है आपने जॉब में. जॉब डिस्क्रिप्शन बताने की जरूरत नहीं होती अक्सर, actually 99% of the time. So similarly, right, that ability to tell a story and share the value you are bringing or the value you want to bring is very, very important. The data is one, storytelling is another. The third thing is something I learned very early on, which is it is better to do something wrong than not to do anything at all. But ye skill to nahi, this is more of a mindset thing. But this is something I learned very quickly at Google. Mere second week mein, my manager, I went to a meeting with my manager and they said, oh, we need to build this process to क्या कहते हैं, repossess Chromebooks. अगर लोग Chromebook की पेमेंट ना करें तो हम कैसे जाके उनके घर से उठा के या बिजनेस में.
You are doing a repo job.
हाँ, तो मैंने कहा वो मीटिंग हो रही थी और मेरे मैनेजर का ठीक है, हाँ, नो प्रॉब्लम, ये हो जाएगा. तो I left the meeting मजे से, third week at Google, मैं मजे कर रहा हूँ, मैं इधर links देख रहा हूँ, उधर memes देख रहा हूँ, all of that. Then few days later I go to one-on-one with my manager and he's like, अच्छा कहाँ है process. मैंने कहा आपने तो मुझे बताया ही नहीं कि मुझे process बनाना है. And then he's बहुत अच्छा बंदा था, वो हंसने लगा और उसने कहा, he said, I am never going to tell you to do anything. You just have to figure out what you need to do and do it. So that was a very big mindset shift, because even when I was at Sears, उधर आपका manager आपको नहीं बताता था, आप कुछ नहीं करते थे, बल्कि you would get into trouble sometimes if you did stuff proactively. But now tech companies में the pace is so fast that if you sit there waiting around for someone to tell you what to do, you will get left behind. Right. I think particularly in these operations kind of roles, right, the business process kind of roles, ops hai, program management hai, project management hai. So a really good thing you can do is train yourself to just do something. If you have a
Right.
sense of where you want to go, just do something. It's much better to do something and get it partially right than do nothing and wait until someone tells you how to do it exactly right.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that, Shan. One of my mentors, says that harkat mein barkat hai. So like keep doing, keep moving.
Exactly.
Like I think how you also mentioned the skills. And so just to summarize, it's data analysis, storytelling, and just keep moving. Like do something.
Hmm.
Um, ऐसा नहीं है कि जी बैठ जाएं हाथ पे हाथ रख के. So I think that's really good advice. बीच में आपने mention किया कि like you get a lot of friends and colleagues asking you to review their resumes. So like what are some tips from your side that that people can implement while they're building their resume to get noticed by big tech companies?
Hmm. So, few things. Pehle to, we discussed also, resume should not be list of job descriptions. Resume should be list of actions. वो
Hmm.
जैसे क्रिकेट की हाइलाइट्स दिखाते हैं ना, सिर्फ चौके छक्के नजर आते हैं या विकेटें. That's what your resume should be like about you. कि यहाँ मैंने हैट्रिक लिया, यहाँ मैंने 6 छक्के मारे थे. Every single bullet should be like that.
Right.
Because then people are wowed by your resume, right? Then it's not like, oh, अच्छा ये accountant था और उसका ledger इतना बड़ा था. It's like मैंने accounting process को ऐसे change किया ताकि close 3 दिन पहले हो जाए, things like that. You want to go more about the stuff you've achieved than what the job was. That's one thing, ठीक है?
Yeah.
दूसरी बात ये है कि अक्सर लोग ले आते हैं 5-6 पेज वाले resume. And there's two rules I've learned. One is about emails and one is about resumes. In the past, I don't know, 15 years old, doing different things. One is the majority of the people will not read past the first 3 lines of your email.
Okay.
So अगर 3 lines से ज़्यादा लंबा email लिखना है, assume that most of the people will not see it. Right? Particularly when you're in a company where there's a lot of stuff happening and there's email overload. Okay? If you're in a company where people send 2 emails a day and you receive 5 emails a day, maybe different, right? But when you're receiving 50 plus, 100 plus, you need to get your message out quickly. Similarly, email ke saath saath, no one is going to read past the first page of your resume. No human being. Machine shayad padh le, right?
Hmm.
But with the machine, you're just trying to hit those words so that the machine sends it to a human to read, right?
Yeah.
So do your best, particularly if you're coming or interested in working for US companies, wherever they may be. Having your highlights in a single page is really, really important, because if the best thing you've done is on the second page, then many people will miss it. Third thing, थोड़ी वो है cosmetic सी चीजें, but keep your font size reasonable. अब मैंने कह दिया कि एक पेज का resume करें, इसका ये नहीं मतलब कि 3-point font में हो. Like I think 10 is the minimum, maybe 9 font size. You can mess around with margins if you need to. और टॉप वाला हिस्सा जो है ना, लोग काफी वो blank space छोड़ देते हैं, नाम बड़ा बड़ा लिखते हैं और फिर addresses on one line, phone numbers on one line, LinkedIn profiles on one line. You don't need all of that. नाम थोड़ा बड़ा कर दें, right? Do email address, phone number. काफी होता है. Or you can do, third thing, you can do link to LinkedIn profile.
Right.
And then one other small cosmetic thing is, अगर आपकी लिखी हुई line जो है ना, the typed line is less than half the page width, just remove it.
Okay.
The impression you want to give with the resume is कि इस बंदे ने इतनी चीजें की हैं कि पेज में fit नहीं आ रही. Right? If you have all this random white space everywhere, then it looks like this person is trying to fill up the page,
That's interesting. So, like, just to summarize, focus on actionables, keep it one page, like, And when you're sending an email to any recruiter or anybody else in that company, keep it to 3 or 4 lines. And the last one is okay, font size reasonable and
Hmm.
utilize space effectively, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Good summary.
that's interesting. So Shan, like I want to like now touch one of the comments also mentions this. It's like so
I
like
I have to say comments में आपके काफी fans हैं.
yeah
I
yeah.
think very nice. Next time I will interview you. ऐसा चाहे आप.
Oof, so like so one of the comments is all companies were affected by COVID-19. So
Hmm.
how did Google, what were some of the challenges that you faced or like your department faced at Google? How did you like work around those? So yeah, and how
Hmm.
are you also feeling? Amidst the pandemic, how's everybody? Yes.
So I guess first I will say Google had a lot of advantages going into the pandemic because internally हमारा collaboration platform जो था काफी strong था. Like we had Google Meet,
Yeah.
Google Hangouts, and Meet is such an easy platform. You just send people an invite, and then now obviously Zoom is also available. But Meet was our internal Zoom.
Yeah.
So it was very easy for us to adjust. Basically, instead of meeting in person, we were just meeting on camera from home. Everyone's quality of home internet varied a little bit, so we just make adjustments for that. But generally, shifting to working from home was relatively easy.
Okay.
Right? Especially, most of our work was in front of the screen anyway, because
Hmm.
ops jobs, software engineering jobs, they are screen driven. Sales jobs became harder because obviously you couldn't go visit your customers and talk to them, right?
Hmm.
And then there were some jobs that had to continue, like our data center technicians वगैरह वो तो हर रोज वैसे ही जा रहे थे.
बिल्कुल.
They reduced the density of people on the floor, and they did shifts and stuff like that, but those people were still going in. So that was the good part, that the company had, because it was a technology company and it had strong internal collaboration tools,
Hmm.
well, for people who were not experiencing personal turmoil, it was relatively easy for them to continue to be productive at work.
Hmm.
So these collaboration tools were critical. अब challenges का है वो तो बेतहाशा थी. एक तो ads में, like in my actual job, like
Yeah,
my
yeah.
job content changed dramatically because COVID की वजह से अचानक पूरी दुनिया COVID के लिए search कर रही थी.
Right.
And then there are some people who try to take advantage of that. जैसे उन्होंने इश्तिहार दिए मास्क के या टॉयलेट पेपर के और उनकी कीमतें आसमान पे चढ़ी हुई हैं, right? Price gouging. वो एक मसला था. फिर a lot of people tried to push misinformation कि oh, COVID is a hoax.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, मास्क से आपकी तबीयत और खराब हो जाएगी. um,
जो WhatsApp ग्रुप्स पे है आपके भी शेयर
हाँ
हुआ होगा डेफिनेटली.
हाँ तो the first thing we did was, this was interesting, we tried to block all ads with COVID content.
ओके.
लेकिन उसके बाद वो किया हमने कहा ठीक है, मसला हल, ठीक है, एड्स में कोई मसला नहीं होगा. लेकिन उसके 2 दिन बाद फिर गवर्नमेंट्स आ गई दुनिया भर की, वो कह रहे हैं कि we need to show our citizens public service announcements about how to stay safe in the pandemic, and you are blocking our ads as well. तो
या.
फिर हमने कहा अच्छा, अब गवर्नमेंट के लिए क्या करें, ये तो अच्छे लोग हैं. So then you have to figure out how are you going to allow certain good ads while blocking other ones. So there's complicated processes to figure out कि अच्छा ये accounts ठीक हैं, इस तरह के ads ठीक हैं, इस तरह के नहीं ठीक हैं, क्या करें.
Mm-hmm.
तो उसमें काफी टाइम लगा, काफी लोगों ने काम किया. Round the clock coverage we had कि अच्छा US में किया, US ने सिंगापुर को दिया, सिंगापुर ने डबलिन को दिया, डबलिन ने वापस US. So we had, our global team was trained on the ads side. ठीक है, तो ये वही जॉब कंटेंट के हिसाब से हो गया. From a execution perspective, अब काफी बड़ी बड़ी teams होती हैं. There's full-time employees, there's vendors, there's consultants. Everyone was affected by this. तो क्या हुआ, हमारे कुछ काफी सेंटर्स हैं जहाँ पे रिव्यूज करते हैं लोग, वहां पे भी कोविड का इफेक्ट हो गया. और ये सारे लोग, these are people who typically come into the centers and their workstations are in the centers, right? ये laptops नहीं है कि वो घर उठा घर जाके घर ले जाते हैं.
Mm-hmm.
तो उनके मुल्कों में भी लॉकडाउन हो गया. तो अचानक our entire reviewer corps was, suddenly unable to work. तो उसमें BCP वगैरह हमें करना पड़ा. Business continuity plan
Yeah.
उसको
Okay.
activate किया. Um, and there were a few, stressful weeks until we were able to regain most of the capacity. And this thing was replicated across the entire industry, right? Yeah. पहली बार, at least in our lifetime, पहली बार ऐसा हुआ है कि there's something that has affected the entire globe to this scale.
Yeah, definitely. So, Shan, like this is a very common question, right? Okay, now, like everybody's working from home. What's your personal preference? Do you like to work from office or work from home?
I like to go into the office.
Okay,
I
okay.
like क्योंकि एक दो वजह एक तो there are some instances where collaboration is easier in person. साथ
Hmm.
whiteboard हो, उस पे brainstorming कर ली, process map बना दिया वगैरह वगैरह.
Yeah.
Second thing is कि at least मेरे ऑफिस में वो शाम को लोग सॉकर खेलते थे. तो वो बहुत आसानी से एक्सरसाइज भी हो जाती थी. अब इतनी
Nice.
आसानी से एक्सरसाइज नहीं होती.
I can imagine. Today, nice. That's good. So, Shan, I'll like now move from like some general questions to to get to know more about you. So, about basically your association and love for Pakistan. Like, where are you from? Like in the country, Pakistan. Kafi shahar hai. What's your like hometown?
Karachi.
Okay.
So my interestingly, my parents are both they grew up. Well, my father grew up in a variety of different places, but they're more their childhood association is more with Lahore.
Okay.
लेकिन मैं मैं पैदा जर्मनी में हुआ था because my father
Okay.
was studying, but we came to Karachi when I was 3. So 3 साल की उम्र से लेके 20 साल की उम्र तक I was in Karachi.
Okay. Nice. Nice. So, what do you what? So when you like, what do you miss about Karachi and your younger days? Like things you used to do in Karachi?
Um, the thing I think of the most is this game called Patta Cricket, which
Okay.
कोई नहीं खेलता, लेकिन मैं अपने दोस्त के घर पे था और उसके पास इत्तेफाक से कोई क्रिकेट बैट नहीं था at that time. तो हमें क्रिकेट खेलने का बड़ा मूड था, तो हमें एक लकड़ी का टूटा हुआ पीस मिला और उसके साथ हमने क्रिकेट खेली 2.5-3 घंटे. और
Nice.
उसके बाद से हमने कभी उसके घर पे क्रिकेट बैट के साथ क्रिकेट नहीं खेली, उसी के साथ खेलते रहे. तो ऐसी की चीजें हैं like
That's a nice memory.
हाँ the वो लोग कहते हैं simpler times. It's a cliche,
Yeah.
but it's true.
Yeah.
Um, so
Definitely.
and we lived in Seaview and then in Phase 5. So a lot of memories of walking to Clifton Beach.
Nice. That's good. So Shan, have you had a chance to like tourism is obviously like especially with pandemic, a lot of countries are closed. So tourism in Pakistan is booming. Like people are going to travel to up north. Have you had a chance to travel within Pakistan?
Not recently. Recently, तो छुट्टी कम मिलती है, तो we come for 2 to 3 weeks and we stay in Karachi with my parents so they can see their pote. But जब मैं स्कूल में था तो हम गए थे, एक दो बार हम गए थे गिलगित, स्कर्दू, नारायण कागान.
In which year was this?
98, 99-ish.
Wow.
Long time
Wow.
ago. And that was very nice. I still remember Skardu. It's such a surreal place. पहाड़ों के
Yeah.
बीच में, beautiful fields, um, and very warm people.
Okay.
My wife and I वो हम बात करते रहते हैं कि जब बच्चे थोड़े बड़े हो जाएं हम कराची से by road जाएंगे all the way up there,
Wow.
like
Now
जगह
that's an
जगह रुकते हुए.
yeah, yeah. Exciting. So Sharon, tell us more about like you know about Pakistan? Like, what do you miss most when you're abroad? Like, what do you miss about Pakistan? And how do you and then how do you see the Pakistani talent and the tech culture that's happening over here as an outsider?
So there's two major things that obvious other than my parents, obviously, जो अभी कराची में हैं. The two things I miss are the food. One, क्योंकि I always tell people I think you can walk into literally any restaurant in Karachi and get a good meal. I
Yeah,
mean, अब जो नए cafes खुल गए, some of those are actually a little bit hit and miss. But if you think of like the older restaurants, cafes, hotels, वगैरह, like never had a bad meal from any of them.
yeah.
कभी कभी पेट खराब होता था, लेकिन खाना हमेशा मजेदार होता था. You know,
It
so,
tastes good. It didn't feel good, but it did taste good.
worth it. दूसरी चीज ये है कि especially here in the Bay Area, there's always this anxiety कि keep moving, achieve things, do something. जैसे सम वीकेंड पे लोग लंबे लंबे हाइक्स पे जा रहे होते हैं, मतलब हम भी जाते हैं लेकिन कभी कभी, और हम एक दो मील करके खुश हो जाते हैं. ये लोग जाते हैं 40-50 मील की हाइक्स करके, and then they come back and then they work 18-hour days. Like what I often miss about Pakistan is, you know, just existing is enough. Often,
Yeah,
you don't always have to be achieving. You can just sit around, talk to your friends, you know, वो चाय पी रहे होंगे, मैं नहीं पी रहा हूँगा क्योंकि I don't drink tea, but and
yeah.
that's
That's
that's a
nice.
good enough achievement for a day or a weekend.
Yeah, I mean it's okay to have a simple day
Yeah,
as well. Yeah,
and I think Pakistanis are much better at recognizing the value of a simple day than people here are, at least.
yeah.
Um, और वो आखिरी सवाल क्या किया था about
Like
the.
how when you look at the Pakistani tech culture, how it's growing, any yeah,
I've had opportunity. यहाँ पे आते हैं वो startup tours. I think Arzish Azam runs incubator. उनके लोग आते रहते थे, और दो तीन और भी groups हैं जो आते रहते हैं. I think Nust का भी कोई group था. खैर पिछले 1.5 साल में तो कम ही देखा है, लेकिन वो आते हैं and they do their presentations to various groups. जैसे यहाँ Open Silicon Valley is massive organization, very active as well. So I am very very optimistic.
yeah,
जो ideas आ रहे हैं हमारे startups में से, like they are very pertinent ideas to solve local issues, local problems. People are not just trying to replicate things that they see successful in other countries. They're actually thinking deeply about what opportunities there are in Pakistani society.
hmm.
जैसे I don't know if you're familiar with the Ghar Par app. I don't know how well they're doing actually, but I was very interested when I learned about them, where they find a way to securely, safely facilitate cosmetic services in the home.
Yeah, yeah,
So ऐसी की चीजें I think are very very exciting and useful as well. There are actually a few very interesting podcasts out now as well about startups in Pakistan and the Pakistani economy, and ऐसी चीज़ उनके guests भी बहुत अच्छे होते हैं, very very creative thinkers, based in Pakistan, working in Pakistan. तो वो I can send you the names of those podcasts. You can share them with the group.
for sure.
तो I'm optimistic. मैं हमेशा यही सोचता हूँ कि अगर बिजली और पानी का मसला हल हो जाए ना, तो there is no ceiling on what Pakistanis can do.
That's a very nice thing to say and like very true indeed as well. So Shan, भाई जैसे बहुत सारे लोग कंपनी स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं, a lot of people are starting their own company, startups or projects in general. Um, and आपने काफी time spent किया है in the Bay Area. And like we often hear culture is very important. So what are your thoughts about that? Like what defines a good culture and what can people who are trying to build companies do to build, good culture for their own organizations as well?
Hmm. So basically, you're going to hear about the kind of culture I like, which isn't necessarily the correct recommendation. Like in मैंने देखा है where I feel like I thrive और मैंने देखा है कि दूसरे लोग भी खुश होते हैं. It's a few things. One is you should be solving big problems, like problems that will materially affect many people.
Hmm.
So, and there are many big problems to solve in the world. तो आप ऐसी opportunities ढूंढें जहाँ पे आप बहुत लोगों के मसले हल कर सकें. That's one thing. The second thing is uh, mistakes should be viewed as also a success. Because coming back to the thing, you did something. हरकत में बरकत है, चाहे हरकत गलत हो या सही. But the assumption is कि लोग सही तरह करने की कोशिश तो करेंगे और गलती होगी तो कोई बात नहीं, right?
But
So that kind of culture where people are not afraid to experiment and try things. So there's ये Sesame Street में था ना जब मैं छोटा था वो था कि if you put a dog in a field and you feed the dog grass and you try to milk the dog will not say moo. So it's not a failure that you couldn't get the dog to say moo. It's just you learned that you cannot make the dog say moo.
true.
So that is really important. So having something materially beneficial to the world to try to do, like try to solve a big problem,
Yeah.
having a culture where mistakes are welcomed or celebrated,
Hmm.
um, and just having this bias towards doing something.
Okay.
The people I've seen, and मेरे साथ भी ये हो चुका है, you struggle the most when you are spending all your time doing analysis, trying to come up with the perfect solution, as opposed to just trying something that might be correct and seeing where it gets you.
Yeah. Analysis paralysis.
Yes, analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
And then more, I think this is an interesting one because I think this might vary from country to country, but maintaining the dignity of the people you work with and respecting that dignity, I think also goes a long way, because psychological safety काफी एक buzzword हुआ था recently.
Okay.
But I actually think there's something to it. कि जो लोग, not just physical safety but emotional safety, जो लोग वो महसूस करते हैं, they feel more empowered to do their best work because they know that they have that safety net. Right? I
Okay.
can be myself. I can make mistakes. ऐसी की चीजें. Then you unlock people's creativity. So you have to create an environment where people are welcome. लोग डर डर के काम पे ना आए, वो खुशी से
Hmm.
काम पे आए.
True. Like they should be excited about coming to work, not like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you're excited about the content of your work because you're doing something big to solve a
Hmm.
big problem. बड़ा मसला हल कर रहे हैं. And then you're excited because you have healthy, productive relationships with your coworkers as well.
Interesting. Yeah.
You
I
know,
think your coworkers play an important part in like helping you love your job or like enjoy what you do.
hmm.
So definitely. So Shan, I think it's time like we'll take some questions from the comments as well. So this is like one somebody has asked, like, we talked about resumes, and a lot of times it's robots that are reading those resumes, like which is like automatic resume checkers. So, and a lot of times Pakistani people say that nobody actually reads a resume. बंदा तो पढ़ता ही नहीं है, robot ही पढ़ के reject कर देता है. So like what can people who are watching at home do to sort of like adapt to them?
So चाहे बंदा पढ़ रहा हो या robot पढ़ रहा हो, the approach is the same.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the approach involves hard work. And this is how you do that hard work. एक आपका base resume तो होगा. ठीक है, one version that you've worked on, it's all highlights, there's no unnecessary white spaces, you're very very happy with it. ठीक है. अब the thing is, वही resume हर job application में नहीं डालना आपने.
Hmm.
What you do is you find the job you're interested in. You see how many of the qualifications you meet. Do your highlights match up with some of the qualifications and responsibilities? ठीक है, match हो गया. Now, this is the key part of the work. कि आप job description को देखें, resume को देखें, and then you aren't going to copy paste. Never copy paste, but you find those keywords in the job description. जैसे the kinds of jobs that I have had and the jobs I hire for. The keywords are process improvement, data analysis, cross-functional team, ऐसी चीजें, ठीक है? And you make sure that your resume has that same terminology. Because maybe you use a different term for the same thing.
Right.
So just change your resume. So basically you will have a version of a resume for each job you apply for.
Right.
Right? Now doing this will do two things. एक अगर machine पढ़ रहा है, robot खुश हो जाएगा. Equals, true, ठीक है? भेज दिया. If a human being is reading it, the human being reading it is usually a recruiter, right? Or a human resources person. Now, a recruiter doesn't know all of the, doesn't have all of the technical knowledge required for the job, right? The recruiter's main thing is, has this person met the minimum requirements, right? And with no disrespect to recruiters, the recruiter is also thinking, if I send this candidate to the hiring manager, will the hiring manager be happy with me or upset with me?
Yeah,
right? So your main goal is first to get past the recruiter. And you get past the recruiter by ensuring that your resume, which is basically what the recruiter knows about you, seems pretty close to what they're looking for.
Right.
Right? And you want to make it easy for the recruiter. Right? So अगर process improvement लिखा हुआ है उधर, यार अपने resume में भी process improvement डाल दो अगर आपने ऐसा काम किया. Right? Now don't lie. But do the work to make it easy for the recruiter to pass your resume to the hiring manager.
Right.
Right? And then if the hiring manager is interested and you get a call, then it's all up to you now, right? You've got past the system. Now you just have to show what your skills are.
Yeah. वो ये आपने जो बात की वो एक मीम भी है ना कि how to write you change a light bulb on your resume. So ये वही है. But that's very true and definitely something, for people who are looking to apply to tech jobs and big tech companies or non-tech jobs. Yeah.
मैं अपनी मिसाल दूं, मैंने अपना हालांकि retail resume था back in 2011, 2012. मैंने अपने retail job में कुछ process improvement किया था. तो मैंने उसको highlight किया हुआ था. और फिर बाद में when I got the job मुझे पता चला process improvement themed लोग ढूंढ रहे थे. तो उस पे, I the person looked at it or whatever, but that was how it worked out.
Okay.
So as I said, this was a big accident, right, on my part. But now if people are being more strategic about it, you can tell when you read a job description what the kind of stuff they're looking for, and just make sure your resume is matching relatively well to that.
Right. Basically, जो वो ढूंढ रहे हैं उसके हिसाब से अपने आप को ढाल लें ताकि आप पहुंच जाएं उन तक.
For example, अगर किसी ने कहा end-to-end operations optimization अपने resume में और job description में process improvement लिखा हुआ है, भाई end-to-end optimization निकाल के process improvement डाल दो. It's the same thing, right?
True.
Just give them, make it easy for them to take your resume and pass it forward.
Absolutely. हाँ. ठीक है. So Shahyan, one last fun questions to end with is that, you work at Google, so there are so many tools that Google has built. What's your favorite Google technology?
I think probably YouTube Music.
YouTube Music? Okay.
I was thinking more recently क्योंकि वो Gmail Maps वगैरह तो हमेशा से हैं, but
definitely
something more recently वो क्योंकि खास तौर पे जब बच्चे हों वो कहते हैं ये लगा दें वो लगा दें, तो it's nice to just be able to speak to your phone and have the song play.
Nice.
So I guess assistant भी आता था थोड़ा सा. Assistant is not always good, but YouTube Music always has the song we want.
Yeah. Sure. So any last tips for, the GDGs and the community in Pakistan? Anything you have for us, or anything you want
Uh,
to put in the comments as well?
I'm looking through them. I see my mother is saying very nice things about me. Nice. Um, I think I don't, unfortunately, I don't know anything about Fuchsia, so I cannot give
Yeah.
any updates. Baki sab ho gaya? Think
Yes.
so. Interesting insights. Pandemic wala ho gaya tha. Um, हाँ, ठीक है.
Yeah.
No, this was fun. I hope it was useful for everyone who attended. और अगर कोई feedback पर रहा हो, I don't know, Eric, if you collect feedback on these sessions, but इस पे ले लें, so that next time I can be better.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to hear it. I guess the last thing I will say is always look for feedback.
Yeah. That's
Uh,
very nice. Yeah.
feedback is a gift. जो भी आपको feedback दे, it's something you can, there's आपकी अपनी बेहतरी के लिए बता रहे हैं, and you can use it in the future.
For sure. For sure. Shan, any like how can people who are tuned in today follow your journey, like, and stay tuned on what you're doing? So where can they like connect with you or something?
There is no good way, to be honest. But I mean, because I don't have Facebook actually, and my Twitter presence is anonymous. Uh, so the best way probably find me on LinkedIn, or अगर आप LinkedIn connection भेज रहे हो, just let me know कि इधर chai hour में आपने देखा था, and that way I'll know to connect with you, and I'm happy to connect and help out anyone I can.
Cool. Thank you, Shan. Hopefully, when times are better, we can like do this in person. But thank you very much for your time, and everybody else for tuning in. And Shan, again, once again, thank you. I think have a good day ahead. Bye bye.
Thank you for the opportunity. The office.